Okay, now we'll see the scenario with app service. What is meant by app service and what it looks like, and how to host an application inside the app service, and what are the prerequisites to create an app service. So as I told you before, if you take any virtual machine, the way you have, if you want to create any virtual machine, first you need to define the size of the virtual machine, and then operating system for the virtual machine. And inside that, if you want to host an application, you must install one web server. Okay, and you need to put your code into that web server, then you can host your website. This is the basic funda. This is about infrastructure as a service, which we saw as of now. And if you talk about app service, okay, it's a platform as a service component. So if you want to host at any application, for example, I have a simple page called test.html, but if I want to host this page, now you have two options. Either you go for a virtual machine or you go for an app service. We saw the scenario with virtual machine. Now we saw the scenario with app service. So I can create app service directly also. Okay, the way for the VM. But if you want to create any service, okay, we need to think about the size as well. So what kind of size I need to choose, so based on my application, based on my code, because for everyone we cannot suggest a single size, right? So we must provide certain sizes so that people can go and choose their respective sizes. So that part we used to talk about scaling. Okay, this scaling can be done to the app service plan. So what is the difference between app service and what is the difference between app service plan? Okay, app service plan is nothing but the name itself. You are planning your app services, how many app services you are going to create, and what is the size you required, and all this stuff you need to define under app service plan. So inside that app service plan, you host your app services. Okay, so deciding app service plan is very important before creating app service. So this app service plan have certain sizes. App service plan. So this app service plans having sizes. So there are free tier, there are shared one, there are basic one, there are premium one. So based on your requirement, you need to choose the respective size, and each category consists of, there are dedicated size, like how many virtual CPUs you required, how much memory you required, that you need to decide based on the size. So, and along with that size, you can think about scale out as well. Scale in means increasing the size or decreasing the size. But I want to increase the number of instances which my app service is running. So that is also possible with the app service plan. That is scale out and scale in. There are two options, vertical scaling as well as horizontal scaling. You can increase the size of the app service plan, or you can increase the number of instances for this app service plan. So this is the basic things required to create an app service. Okay, so now you have your app service plan created, and into that you will create one app service. Okay, so you have created one app service. It's absolutely fine. Now within this app service you need to host your code. So how you can create that app service, how you can host your code, and how it will be accessible, that we'll discuss now. Before going to discuss this one, I need to explain one scenario. That is, let's say you have an application called Flipkart. I'll take the VM as an example. So if you have an application called Flipkart and this you hosted in this particular server, what it means, anyone browsing www.flipkart.com can access the website from this server. So So whatever the content you kept here, the same will be showed to the internet, to the public. This is absolutely fine. So that means this live traffic the people are seeing, the live content people are seeing. Now I want to make one change for my website. So where I need to do the change? If I directly come to this server, if I make the change directly here, then that change will immediately seen to the public, which is not the good option, because whatever the change you are going to do, if you do the change directly on this, if something is happened, your entire application will be collapsed. Okay, so if you want to do practice, or if you want to do any repair section, you will not do it on the new items, right? You will prefer to go for old items. The similar way for servers also, if you want to do the testings and if you want to do any kind of implementations, they directly come and do on the server which is directly faced to the public, because those changes will immediately shown to the public, which is not the correct way. Okay, that is fine. Then how I can test my system, how I can make sure everything is working fine? So in that scenario, in IT world, we used to call a term called environments. We used to use a term called environments. So with the help of this environments, okay, we used to manage the stuff. So let's say this environment where the live traffic is saying to the people, that we used to call it as production environment. So people won't disrupt this production environment. Instead, they will create the similar kind of environment where they used to put the similar kind of code, and here they used to do their test, they used to do their R&Ds, they used to do their proof of concepts. Everything they used to do under another environment, not in the production environment. That we used to call it as any name you can give it. Depends on the organization. You have a test environment, you have QA environment, you have dev environment, okay, you have bug fix environment. So you have many kind of environments available. It's up to you how many environments you want to replicate. Those many environments you can create it. Okay, so the purpose of creating this environment is, it's a similar kind of server I am creating, the same code I am keeping here also, but I am doing my changes in this server and I am testing. So I am doing my changes in this server, I am testing my local. So if it's everything is working fine or not, if it is working fine and as expected, then you can move that code to the production. This is the basic funda follows. Okay, so if you want to do this scenario in case of virtual machine, what are the options we have? We must create one more virtual machine, and inside that you need to keep the code and you need to do some R&Ds over there. But same if it comes to the app service also, okay, let's say you have hosted some application in the app service and you are going to access that application or app service from the internet. That means people are seeing the content from the app service. That is called production app service. So this is absolutely fine. Now if I want to do my test, where I need to do? So you have again two options. The option number one is, if you want, you can create one more app service and there you can do your testing. So instead of that, the Azure, very particularly in app service, there is a concept called app service or a deployment slot. There is a concept of deployment slot. What is meant by this deployment slot? So if you consider the same scenario, instead of creating two virtual machines, one is for production and one is for, this is VM for prod and this is VM for test environment. Okay, instead of creating two things, in app service they are offering a functionality called deployment slot. So within this app service, you have a concept of deployment slot. These deployment slots you can create up to 3. This is deployment slot 1, this is deployment slot 2, this is deployment slot 3. There are 3 slots available in the app service. Okay, this is app service. The main app service always connected as production 1. For example, out of 3, you can consider 1 as the main app service and second ones are slots. Okay, these are called slots. Okay, so within this app service, you further create deployment slot. This deployment slot also works as an app service. Like the way app service having a URL, this deployment slots also having URL. For example, this is my main website hosted in the app service. This we used to call it as main slot or app service, main app service. Now if I want to test something by deploying it, I don't need to deploy my code directly to this particular app service which is serving traffic to the outside world. Instead, there is a functionality or there is an option you can deploy your code first into the slot 2. But this slot 2 is not accessible to the public. The slot which is accessible to the public is slot 1 or the main app service only, not slot 2. So you can do the deployment to the slot 1, slot 2 or slot 3, and with the help of slot 2 URL or with the help of slot 3 URL, you can do your testing. And you can see that whatever the changes you required, those are appearing or not. You can do your thorough testing by deploying your code into the slot 2 or slot 3. If you see that everything looks good, okay. If not looks good, again you come to your local, you made your changes, again you deploy it to the slot 2 or slot 3 until the code gets succeeded, until your get required output is coming on the website. So you made all these changes and you deploy it to the slot 2 or slot 3 so that the main website can't be disturbed. Okay, in this scenario, similarly, the production VM also facing the traffic, external traffic, and whatever the application it is having, it is serving the traffic. Whatever the R&D you are doing R&D here, and you used to browse this VM and you used to verify this output are coming or not. Once your testing is done, what is the process to deploy the updated code from this environment to this environment is lift and shift operation of virtual machine. You will copy this entire code and you replace here, or you will use the CI/CD mechanism. But when you comes to the app service, it's not like. There is a concept of swapping. Swap means you can, let's say you have 1 and you have 2. So if you swap them, what it will be do, in the place of 1 the 2 will come, in the place of 2 the 1 will come. This is called swapping. The 1 will be swapped as 2, swapped with 3, swapped with 2, and the 2 will be swapped as 1. So this is the way. Similarly, if you do your deployment into the slot 2 and make sure everything is working as expected, then there is no need to deploy this code to 1 again. What you need to do, you will simply swap your 2 with 1 and 1 with 2. So what it will do, whatever the code, whatever the configuration you have in slot 2 will be moved to the slot 1, and whatever the configuration you have in slot 1 will be moved to the swap 2. Okay, this way you can swap it with the help of deployment slots. This is about deployment slots, and we discussed about app service plan as well, and we now will show you how to create an app service. Just go to the Azure portal and search for app service. What I told you, before creating an app service, you first create one app service plan, or else while creation also you can choose it. For example, if you click on app service and if you try to click for an app service, this create app, here you will see the resource group, what you want to going to create, and the, for example, the service name or app service name, it must be unique across the globe. So you need to put your unique app service name. So again, this name you need to follow your company standards. So you need to provide your name and you need to decide what kind of runtime stack, what kind of code you are going to host in your app service. It's a .NET based one, it's a Java based one, it's a Node.js based one, it's a Python one, it's a PHP one. It's up to you. You can decide and you can choose that runtime version or runtime stack. Whereas in terms of virtual machine, if you want to host a Windows a .NET based code, then you need a Windows operating system. If you want to run a Node.js or Java based codes, you need a Linux operating system. But come to the platform as a service, that is app service, here you don't need to worry about the server, you don't need to worry about the backend operating system, you don't need to worry about the web servers, nothing to worry. Okay, you need to choose what kind of code you need to host on it. Or if you want to host this app service as a container also, you can choose the respective container. Or else if you want to make this web app as a static one, static means which is not changed, which is single page. If you want to host this app service for a single page which we don't have a regular changes, for that purpose also you can choose static web app. Just provide your static web page, that's it, it will be browsed. Okay, but if you want to use for code purpose, you can utilize for code purpose. You can decide what kind of code you want to keep it, and you can decide what kind of operating system you want to utilize. If it is a Windows operating system or Linux system you require. Based on the operating system, you need to select the respective region where you are going to host your code, and then here main important one, that is called app service plan. Okay, if you have an existing app service plan, that will comes under drop down. If not, you can create a new one, or else you can directly create app service plan. Okay, search for app service plan, you'll get this option, click on app service plan, and then try to create an app service plan. Click on create, then it will come as particular resource group, and you can give the app service name, whatever the name you want to give. You can give the app service plan name. Okay, and then you can choose the respective operating system for this app service plan. As I told you before, if you want to create any app service plan, and if it is Windows operating system or Windows app service plan, you can host Windows app services only. Okay, if it is a Linux based app service plan, then you can host Linux based app services only. So for now I choose Linux one, then I select respect to pricing plans. As I explained, you have a free, you have a basic, you have a premium, you have a premium v3 and premium v3 mv3 also. There are many kind of specifications you have, with each one having a dedicated sizes, so you need to select the respective size for which your app service you want to create. And if it is premium one, you will get the zone redundancy. Zone we talked about, nothing but it's kind of a disaster recovery management. So if you have a premium ones, then this option will be enabled. Okay, if it is a normal one, we don't have that options. But for production workloads, always go for premium ones for production in your environment. Okay, select the respective one, and then next, click on next. You need to provide the tags for your identification purpose, and just click on review plus create. So it will review it, it will validate it, and if you click on create, it will create a new app service plan. Now on top of this app service plan, we will create the respective app services. Okay, this will be created anyway. So meanwhile we'll go to the app service. Meanwhile, we go to create app service. So now click on app services, click on create. I want to create an app service. If If you want to create a static page, then you can use static web app. If you want to integrate your app service, or if you want to use your web app along with database, then you can see this one. Or if you want to use WordPress, you can select for WordPress also. For now, by default, I'll choose web app. So now again you need to select the respect to resource group, and you need to select the respect to app service name. Okay, and it must be unique as I told you. And you need to select the respect to .NET base, and you need to select Windows operating system or Linux based on requirement, and you need to select the respect to region. Now it will be showed you the app service plan created. If you want, you can go for the app service plan previously created, or you can create a new app service plan. It's up to you. For now, I want to host my app service into existing app service plan. That's why I choose the respective one. If you want to create new one, just click on create new and add your app service plan name. That's it. It will create an app service along with the app service plan. Again, based on the size you selected for the app service plan, this zone redundancy will come. So that we already showed you while creating the app service plan itself. And if you want to integrate, or if you want to deploy your web app along with database and all this stuff, you can select the respective ones. For now it was disabled. If you want, you can configure later also. And next one, click on deployment. So if you want to do any deployment to this web service directly by integrating here, yes, if you are allowing the continuous deployment, it will ask you where exactly your code is hosted. Your code is in GitHub, or your code is in Bitbucket, or your code is in any third-party Git repositories. So if you want, you can integrate your code directly to the app service. Okay, or else you can do the nominal deployments, regular deployments. How you can do it, you can do it. It's up to you. And next one is networking part. So if you want to integrate this web app along with your network, if you want to bring this app service to your network, and you want to assign one private IP from your network to this app service, then in that scenario you need to disable this public access, and you need to enable the network injection, and you need to do that we will show you how we can do that once this app service is getting created. Next, click on monitoring part. So if you want to monitor your web app, how much traffic it is getting, how it is responding, is there any errors we are getting, so all these things you will get to know when you monitor this app service. For that option, there is a concept of application insights. This very particularly we will discuss when we are talking about monitoring. So altogether we have a dedicated section for monitoring. So there we will discuss what is meant by application insight, how it will monitor, if you want to configure any kind of alerts, how we will configure it. So all these things we will discuss. Next one is Defender for Cloud. This will know if there is any security glitches, or if there is any security issues along in your web app service. It will try to know, and it will help you for debugging and troubleshooting purpose. It will provide you the remediation steps also. If you want to enable that, you can click on enable option. So this option will be there. And next, if you click on tags part, it's again for identification purpose. If you want to write tags, you can write your tags. And next, simply click on review and create. Just simply click on create, so that your app service will be starts creating. Now the app service is created. If you go to the resource, this is your app service. Now if you see into the overview, there again we'll see what resource group it is running, what status it is, what location it is, which subscription it is having, what is the domain name to access this app service. This is text-xyz, that app service name dot, this Azure website .net is the default domain, and the app service plan it is created, and operating system it has. So all this is the basic details you have for the app service. If you want to stop it, and if you want to restart it, if you want to delete it, or if you want to swap it, so all these things you will get it under this overview section. Again, for activity log, this will show you if you have made any changes on the app service, the person who made the change and what changes you made, all those things will be logged under this activity log. And access control, that is nothing but if you want to provide any person or managed identity or a service principal on the access on this particular service, that you can do it under this access control part. This we will discuss when we are discussing about RBAC and Active Directory. In the tags part again, if you this will be created for identification purpose. If you want to create any tag, you can create from here itself. And again, diagnose and solve problems, this I already explained you. If there is any issues with the app service, if you see any issues here, you can use this diagnose and solve problems for troubleshooting, for debugging, for remediations. So all this stuff you'll get it under this diagnose and solve problems. Defender for cloud, as I explained earlier while creating. If there is any security glitch with the app service, if there is any restrictions, or if there is any kind of suspicious things known or showed under this app service, it will recommend you with the remediation as well. And these two are still in preview state, you don't need to ignore, you can ignore it. This nothing but events. If you want to integrate this app service with event hub or event grid or service bus, all kind of stuff, then you can integrate with this events. Better together is nothing but, let's say you want to integrate your app service Azure with Azure Cache, Cosmos DB, Redis DB, MongoDB, or kind of load balance like front door. If you want to integrate, then you can use this option. That's still in testing phase, so you don't need to worry about it. And next one is deployment. What is meant by deployment? I already showed you. This is the concept of deployment slot. So if you click on deployment slot, it will allow you to create a deployment slot. But as per the plan we have created, it is not supporting the deployment slot. Now we'll show you how to upgrade or how to scale up your size. The similar cases you will get in your real-time environment also. There might be some size where your app service plan is created, and there might be a requirement to increase that size or to decrease that size. How you can do that? Either you click on upgrade, it will directly take you to that location, or else you can click on app service plan. There is a section called app service plan. Here click on your app service plan, so that it will route you to that respective app service plan. Now you come here. Here there is a concept of scale up and scale out. Scale up is nothing but you are increasing your size from 4 GB to 8 GB, 8 GB to 16 GB. That's about scale up. Scale out is nothing but you are increasing the instance count. For now I have 2 instances, I want to make it 4, I want to make it 6 instances. That you can do it under scale out option. If you go for scale up, so it is at the moment what is the size it is having and what are the sizes available. You need to select the respective sizes. For example, the size is free one, I want to go for premium E3. Just select this particular option. Here it is giving 1 virtual CPU and 4 GB of the RAM and 250 GB of the storage it is offering for me, and this is the cost I am getting per hour. Okay, this is the average cost for a month. So all these things will be showed you. Just select that one, click on upgrade. That's it. So that your app service plan will be migrated to the premium v3. Similarly, if you want to degrade it, you can come to this app service plan and you can select the scale up option. Here you can select the respective size and click on select, so that it will be downgraded. Now if you see here, it will be upgraded to the premium one. The pricing plan is comes to premium. Now if you talk about scale out, I already told you this is about increasing the instances. For now the instance count is current instance count, if you see here, it is 1, and the maximum you can increase up to 30. If you want to increase this instances count manually, then you can select manual and you come here, you can increase your instance count to anything you want up to 30. Or else I don't want manual, I want to increase automatic, then based on a metric you can do that. Okay, so for example, minimum how many you want to keep, maximum how many you want to keep that. For example, if you want to specify a rules based one, then you can define a set of rules, and based on the rules it will increase or it will decrease. The preferable method is go for manual only. We already discussed about if you keep automatic, what will happen. By instance is something is happened at CPU and memory utilization, it is trying to increase the instances count, but it will not resolve the problem. Ultimately you will get more cost. So try to resolve that problem. So keep it manual. If you feel that you need to increase the size, you can increase the instances count. That's it. So okay, then if it still reaches this one, you come to this app service plan, you analyze this, what app service is causing high memory and high CPU. Is it really causing, or is there any issue? Try to resolve that issue, and then if still requires, you can increase that count here like that. So this is about scaling part of the app service plan. So now we scale our app service plan. Now we'll go to the app service itself. Now if you go to the deployment slots, it will allow you to create an deployment slot. So if you see here, now there is an option called add. Now we are adding one deployment slot. At the moment we don't have any slots if you observe here, but if I create slot 1 or something, so what it will do, it will create a slot 1. So if you see, observe the URL, in previous it is text-xyd.azurewebsite.net. Now the URL is updated with -slot 1. This you only know. The external world, they only know your website with test-xyz.azurewebsites.net only, not with the slot 1. This slot 1 URL, you only knows it. So you can do your deployment into the slot 1 and you can browse it with this URL itself and you can test it. Next one, while creating the deployment slot, do you want to clone the settings? So similar way, if you want to, let's say if you want to create a deployment slot 2, initially it was 1, so you want to copy whatever the things I have from 1 to 2. Yes, I want to copy it. If you want, you can copy it from the main one, the text-xyz one. If you click on add, it will try to create one deployment slot along with your main one. Now it will show you your main slot as well. Okay, so with this you can create deployment slot. The maximum of 3 deployment slots you can create, one primary plus 2. Additionally, 2 deployment slots you can create along with the main one. If you see, this is the default one or the main app service. That's called production one, where people are getting traffic. People are routing to this particular app service, this particular one. If you see, the traffic is routing 100%. And there is one more thing called slot 1. Okay, so this way you can create one more slot. Along with primary, you can create 2 more slots. Now I have created one slot. Now I'll show you difference. For example, in the slot 1 or the main one, I want to host my app service. I want to host my page. How you can host it? You need to go to the development tools. Later I will explain each and everything. Go to the development tools, click on advanced tools and click on go. It will take you to the Kudo console. Here you need to keep your code. As I already told you, while we are discussing about the VM concept, if you want to put your code on a particular VM, there is a folder called www root under this app web server. So you have a www root folder. Inside that you are putting your code. Similarly, for app service also the same concept will come. If you go to the debug console, you click on cmd or PowerShell, it will take you to that www root location where you can put your code directly. You don't need to worry about the operating system. You don't need to worry about anything. It will give you all the details. You don't know where this C home is. You don't know where this folder is created. You don't need to worry about it. Okay, you can simply come and you can simply put your code under this particular folder. That's it. But whereas if it is for VM, what you need to do, you need to create a VM, you need to install an operating system, you need to install a web server. On top of that, you need to put your code. But whereas here, nothing to worry about operating system, nothing to worry about the server, nothing to worry about the upgradation, nothing to worry about anything. Okay, come here. If you want to add your code, you can put your folder or else you can put your file. For example, I want to host my test.html page. Yes, I can create my test.html page here. If I want to edit it, I can edit it. I will place my this content, what I can say, HTML content, I can put it under here. So I'll come to here, I'll search for basic HTML page. So now I will copy one basic HTML page. So I'll copy this code, I'll come to that page and I'll put that code here. Here I will search for my Azure session. Okay, so if you click on save it, this page will be saved. And now if you come to your website and if you come to your overview, you will get the domain here. You copy that domain, okay, and you come to here and slash, your page is test.html. That's it. you can see your content. Okay, but where in the scenario of virtual machine you see lot of steps, but coming to the app service, if you see, this much simple, where they are offering all the things in ready made. They are offering the platform, just simply come and put your code, that's it. This is about the main part. And when you talk about deployment slot, for example, I have my website and I want to change this session from Azure to Azure DevOps or something. That means you are going to make your change directly. Instead of making the change, what I told you, I want to make that change in my deployment slot. Then I used to browse it. If everything goes fine, then I used to swap it. That how I can do it, I will show you. Before deploying my code into this one, I'll go to app slot 1. Altogether slot 1 is also kind of app service. If you see here, this is also having the same settings. Now you come to your development tools, you come to your advanced tools, and you can click on go. Here also you have a place to host your code. Okay, so it will take you to that particular Kudo console of the slot 1. Here you can host your code and you can do your modifications. Okay, click on CMD or PowerShell, it will take you to that location. Its URL starts with slot 1. Go to the site, go to the www root, and here I'll create one more file called test.html. So here I used to put my updated code. Okay, I used to put my updated code. So I used to copy the content and I used to come here and I used to paste the content here. I used to call it as Azure DevOps session. Yeah, I used to update it. So first, before deploying this into the production, and in this one I need to test it, my change is working fine or not. How I can test it? I'll come to this app service slot 1. I'll go to the overview. Here the URL will be different. This is -slot 1. So I'll copy this URL. I come here and now I'll search for that page, test.html. Now I only knows this page. I only knows this URL. You can see it. It is coming Azure DevOps. Now if I want to deploy this code to the main one, here how I can do that? I don't need to copy that code from there to here. Simply what you need to do, you need to swap it. You need to swap it. Click on swap. What is your source? Your source will be this one, and you want to put whatever the content of slot 1 to the main one. This you want to put it. Okay, just put it. Click on start swapping, so that whatever the code you have in slot 1 will be moved to the main slot, main app service. Whatever the code you have in the main one, it will be moved to the slot 1. That I will show you. So now this way you can swap it. Once this swap is completed, now I'll show you how the code is swapped between this slot as well as the primary one. With this, the main one, how it is swapped. It will take a while, okay, and then it will complete the swapping. Then you can browse it so that you will get to know what you are getting under this one and what you are getting under slot 1. If you see, now the swapping is completed. Now my expectation is whatever the thing I have getting on slot 1, it must be come under this one. So if I simply refresh it, it must be Azure DevOps now here. If I simply replace the original URL, that is text-xyd, the main URL, if I refresh it, my code is pushed to the this one. See, you are getting the Azure DevOps one. But if you see to the slot 1, whatever I have seen previously in production, that must be come here. Okay, if I refresh the slot 1 URL here, I can see my old code. See, this way you can swap your code from slot 1 to the production without affecting the production 1. So this is about deployment slots.